Jake, I've got part 2 for you today, coming from our last episode.
Yeah, we got an awful lot of feedback on that one, so I'm stoked about the audience engagement.
All right, in case you missed it, we're talking about the gap between like employee and subordinate mindset, culture, getting on the same page, moving the company agenda forward. This could also be in a parenting situation as well. I feel like we're kind of talking about parenting. It's a new concept I've just invented.
I like that. Let's roll with it.
All jokes aside, business parenting. So today we're deep diving into those of you that have a budget, hiring an HR person, those of you that don't have the budget and are trying to set company culture, how to do it, how to get a little bit of light instruction from us today on how to dive in, right? Jake, I'm going to turn it over to you right now. Let's kind of run with this a little bit. Let's start with person one. I'm a business owner. I don't have the budget to hire. I don't have $85,000 to hire, $150,000 to $200,000 to hire an HR person to deal and help with company culture. I have to do it myself. I have no one else but me and some other people around me, perhaps maybe an executive assistant. Maybe I'm a little solopreneur and I've got about 15, 20 people working for me. Why don't you give us some examples here? Why don't you kind of break this open for us? Let's go.
Okay. So there's two, let's divide this into two socioeconomic classes, right? So we've got those that can afford, those that say they can't afford. That from a socioeconomic business owner, entrepreneur, whatever you want to call yourself, you are two financial classes, right? Yes, I clearly have the profit margin to be able to do it, and no, I don't. And so how do we deal with that? Where are we? So we're talking about the guy right now that says, note the air quotes, I don't have the money to hire that role. Okay. One, that's a limiting belief. That's a lie. I don't have the money to hire that role. No, that's not what the problem is. First of all, I'm going to get calls about this and I'm okay with it. Like, that's not the problem. The problem is you're unwilling to relinquish control of an aspect of your business. That's where it starts. The money is always there. There's always places to find the money. There's always places to find the resources. We talked about this a little bit last time. So sure. Can you stroke the check, call it $100,000 because that's easy math. Can I stroke the check for $100,000 for a brilliant HR director to be able to hire, fire, manage, train, do all those things in there, right? If I do not have that in the profit, that's fine. Likely, I'm not ready to hire that role anyway. I probably do not have what that role does. I probably haven't even defined it because I've been the person that's done it from the get-go. Doesn't mean I was the right person to do it from the get-go. So this is that it's a little bit of relinquishing control in this space. And as entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, like, I'm going to call a bunch of you out right now of, I feel I am the one person that is the best person to do all the things and on my business and every aspect, and my customers only want to do business with me. We've all lied to ourselves and told ourselves that at one point. But that's where we are. When we believe that, we limit our growth. We become the lid on our business right there. So the lid. We are the lid on our business. If we are doing all the things, our business will not grow beyond our natural abilities. Period. We have got to hire better. There's resources. There are VA services that can be an HR department that are $20,000 or less a year. There are fractional HR services that are less than $20,000 a year. There are consultant and coaching services less than $20,000 a year. The resources are there, guys. As a entrepreneur, small business owner, scale up, wherever you are in that process, get over yourself. That's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you to get over yourself in that moment and say, you know what? I hired myself into this hole. I need somebody else to help dig me out. It's okay to admit it. It's perfectly okay to admit it. We're not the best thing for all things. We're not. So that's true in both socioeconomic classes. That's true if you're an entrepreneur. That's true if you're a big business owner. we tend to want to control too much because we're that visionary. That's what I hear a lot of. And I coach a ton on, Mike, stop touching the thing. Don't touch the thing, Mike. Don't touch the thing. But we want to. We think we're the best person for that. So when you hear me say that, what does that unpack for you?
Well, it unpacks the guild. It does. It unpacks the guild shamelessly.
Shameless plug.
I know, but it has to happen. This is the crux of why we do this. The guild, right? Speaking of coaching services, speaking of things that are less than $20,000. Okay, so the guild is about a fraction of what it's worth for our members. Okay, it is insane. It's a safe environment for people to learn and grow, get coaching from us, continue these conversations in a deeper way, having resources to be able to unlock quickly solutions to problems such as this, right? Such as culture, company culture, coaching culture, deployment, speed, going faster, unlocking. The guild is there to help form your brain and your business and your life to move forward. You want to add anything about the guild, Jake? Tell people how to get.
Yeah, I want you to think about the guild as your fractional board of directors. That's what I want you to think of the guild as, your fractional board of directors. You've got resources of multiple other business owners. You have Mike and I. You have direct contact with us. You have the disruption playbook, which we have just gotten done. And here's the bonus on that one is go to www.totaldisruption.com. It's right down there. And that is going to get you if you want a free 30-day subscription, buy the book, buy a copy of the book, get a free 30-day subscription to the guild, try it out, get a free board of directors for 30 days to be able to do what you need to do in your business. Somebody has struggle bust with what you're struggle busting with right now and knows the answer, and they're probably in the guild.
And if they're not, we can find them for you. We have a ton of contacts and a ton of resources. However, you got to be back in the guild. We need to know what you're doing, what you're struggling with, so we can help point you in the correct direction.
Yep. And if you're really into it, part of your subscription membership beyond the 30 days goes directly to Boys and Girls Club and Wounded Warriors. We're big about supporting causes, so love that too, man.
And one more time, that's total-disruption.com.
That's the one.
So back to me, okay? Back to what we're talking about here. When we're talking about fractional, what the hell are we talking about? What is all this nonsense? I don't want to sound like the last episode, and I don't want to confuse people with all this terminology. Fractional just means you can hire a person that's not in your employ to come in and deploy what you need them to deploy. The key piece here is, what is your result? And what, as a business owner, is your overall lever to keep your business momentum forward, and how you can sort of quantum leap and quantum plan for the future, far in to the future? How do you keep having that 30,000 foot picture? And if you don't have the 30,000 foot picture, well, then you can't really disseminate information to the people who are underneath you. You have no direction, therefore they have no direction. Sure, there's everyday tasks to keep the lights on, but without some sort of accelerant, how are they going to move forward? So the 30,000 foot view and the direction that you, as the CEO owner, have is literally the company culture you're going to create. Now, hold on for a second, because I know you're chopping a bit. Piece of this, right? A piece of this has to come to is the dialogue between people that are working on the same mission, right? Like, Jake, you and I had this project of reaching as 1 million people, getting 1 million people in the guild, giving to the Wounded Warriors, giving to the Boys and Girls Club, empowering 1 million different people on a personal level, on a financial level, and on a professional level. That's our mission. You and I are dialoguing about this throughout the day. Not every day, but throughout the day, there's a text, there's a quick call. We are constantly on the same page. This is our company culture. And then we have regular meetings with people that aren't even our employees, they're JV partners. We have regular meetings with these people to keep them on pace We bring in other coaches to coach them. We coach them. We have other coaches coaching us. So this boils down to the vision distribution line, right? We call this the vision distribution line. How to take this vision, make sure it's not like this, because nobody's really above anybody else. We're just kind of going in this upward trajectory. It looks like this. But this vision distribution line, how do we get all this all the way down the line? Because the further you get away from the vision distribution, the worse, like the vision can kind of get blurry. So Jake, why don't you unpack that for everybody? I want to have a drink.
And I'm so glad that we don't have to plagiarize that from somebody else. The vision distribution line, that's going in book 2. That's super good. Mike's so good off the cuff with some of the stuff he comes up with some days. I love it. All right. So on the vision distribution line. So it does go back to vision. And this goes back to, Mike talked a whole lot and he gave you a whole bunch of examples of people that are not in direct employ that we rely on as mentors, as role models, as consultants, that we've given permission to give us feedback in our company. So that's one of the big tricks, and it's one of the big keys. And this goes back to that socioeconomic division, the 2 different people. Chances are neither one of those people has 5 people in their life that are dragging them up that distribution line. Chances are good in both spaces. Right? We know that this is that. Nobody succeeds alone, guys. Nobody succeeds alone. You've got to go there together. You want to go fast, go by yourself. You want to go far, you go together. That is how this stuff works. So if we go back to dude that doesn't think he has the money to hire the HR director, that smaller business, very I own everything kind of mentality. We go back to him. Who are the people that you are able to have a conversation with every day? Who are you networking with? Who are you connecting with? What are your chamber of commerce? What are your other business owners? Who are you going to breakfast with? Who are you asking to mentor? This goes back to like old school Think and Grow Rich. If you remember, Napoleon Hill talks about this of he asked permission to sit in the dude's office. I just want to sit and watch what you do. That was his in, and that's how he learned to do it. Who are you asking to just sit in their office? I just want to watch what you do. I want to see, I want to just absorb what you're doing. Now, that's one aspect of it, is those 5 people that are around you. Now, as far as this, making sure you know what the vision is, most business owners don't have a freaking clue what their vision is. They don't know what their end game is. What's your plan with your business? Is your plan to launch this thing, your widget A, and in 5 years from now, sell it for $1 billion? Is that your plan? Is your plan, I'm going to get in it, I'm going to make $100,000 a year from now till I'm dead? Is that your plan? What is your plan for one? Where are you 5 years from now? This is a challenging question people always fight with. And I've asked it a million times to all of my coaching clients, everybody that I talk to. 5 years from now, and I'm giving you the question. This is the question you got to ask yourself. 5 years from now, we're having this conversation, and you say to me, Jake, it's been an amazing journey in the last 5 years. Here's where we are. Here's what we did. Notice my language. We talked about this a few episodes around future casting, and that was about future casting the future self. Where are you 5 years from now? Really? Where are you 5 years from now in your business? And can you communicate that to everybody in your linear line within your employee? Are they bought into Simon Sinek talks a lot about just cause. We've heard him talk about that before, and he's got a book that talks a whole lot about that. Are they bought into your vision? Are they in alignment with it such that they are pushing you to the vision? That they're pulling you, that you've hired better. So vision is a huge conversation, but how do you communicate it? First of all, you got to know where you are. You got to know what your actual vision is. What is my vision for the business? Mike and I both know it. I mean, we've got that $1 million number. It's written on the board. Like it's right there. We communicate it all the time. We talk about it. What's your vision? How are you communicating it downhill? And this is where it goes back to that previous conversation we had last week around when we have employees, if I'm an employer, we'll just label each other, right? If I'm an employer, whether I'm socioeconomic, I have the money or I don't, I'm an employer and I have employees, how am I communicating that vision with them? When I hired them, when I first employed them, I interviewed them. Did I interview them as a warm body that can fill a chair and do a thing? Or did I interview them as they've got an aligned vision with me and they are choosing to march down that road and we're going there together? Because those are two totally different conversations from a hiring perspective. What have you heard when you've had those conversations, Mike?
Well, that's good. Yeah. Okay. So it's a hiring perspective. It's a cultural perspective, but ultimately it's a giant crapshoot. And unless you're in a hire, fire, quick turnover business, you just don't know. You can use, those behavior tests. You can use all these screenings. You can interview from past jobs. You should be doing all that. I mean, that's kind of not okay. If you're not doing that or somebody in your company's not doing that, then you're totally killing yourself. You've got an inbound problem. You've got a problem where you're not interviewing enough candidates. You've got a problem where you're not meeting enough people to sift through. I understand if there's a temporary hire, because we've all done this, and it's not malicious. It's kind of a mutual agreed thing. Okay, short-term gig here, limited run, project-based hire. It's not deliberate, but it's intentional. Okay, we're all going to work together for 2 months. But if you're really looking for somebody to kind of get in the driver's seat next to you or behind you, and like Jake said, pull you or push you, man, there's a psychological motivation, but there's going to be somebody who's already running. It has to be somebody that's already in there. This works across the board. And even in philanthropy, nonprofits, for-profits, if the culture is not established on the onset, and it is not cultivated on the onset and then on the onset periods of time after that, you're going to have a cultural breakdown, whether it's within the first 365 days or within the next 7 to 10 business cycles, running through 4 or 5 years, right? There's always this sort of weird, why 5 years? Because there's always drop off in 5 years. There's usually this little psychological game that goes on between employees and employers. There's a 5-year cycle. You start to get used to what you're doing. You start to feel overvalued. In other words, the company they need me more than I need them. There's this entitlement. There's this layoff in mental focus. There's just this drag. So it always happens. Not in every case, but it always happens. That's why cultural reawareness, you see in big companies all the time, they bring in coaches, they bring in consultants. I just call it cultural reawareness, making sure everybody's still on the same page, getting as motivated as possible. And this is where you see like company wellness programs come in. This is all kind of really getting down into sort of minutia rabbit hole. But all this is designed to bring life back into the employee, back into the culture, to keep the mission moving forward. And the more top heavy a business is, the harder it is to do. And in some cases, guys, it's just going to be an employee's just going to fill a role, come in, do a job, and then roll out. You're not going to have this big gusto out of every single person that works in the business. It's just par for the course.
Yeah, agreed. And I know we're hitting up against hard time here.
Yep.
You absolutely closed the loop on it. And you said, what's the expectation of the employee from the beginning? What do I need them for? Are they a temporary role, right? Can a warm body fulfill a temporary role? Sure can, right? Are there outsourced services, virtual assistants, fractional? That's an outsourced consultant type services. And you absolutely nailed it when you said, if you're getting into bed with somebody, you're getting into business with somebody, you're marrying somebody for a long time in your business and you want to go there together, you got to go full process. You can't learn as you go. You got to go full process up front. You're either in alignment or you're not. And if it's not, you've heard me say it before, if it's not a yes, it's a no. If you got to talk yourself into it, it's a no. It's either a yes or it's a no. So any closing words on that one, Mike?
No, just go out and hire right, and just don't be afraid to keep communicating your company culture. Slog through the mess. It gets more efficient. If you want your company to go in a direction, communicate it to your everyone that's working with you constantly, regularly, and make sure you hold yourself accountable, have some people holding you accountable, and move towards your mission and achieve the success you deserve.
That's it, man. All right. On behalf of Mike, we'll see you guys in the guild.